Last week we made a digital puppet for the gingerbread man for Shrek the Musical Jr. for a production that I'm working on. And this week I made the dragon. And I didn't want to buy a lot of materials, but fortunately for this production, since it's virtual, the dragon can be a hand puppet. Usually she's a giant puppet on the stage, but for this production, I can get away with kind of hiding her body and just having her head, and I can get away with shooting her and making her look bigger than the other actors on green screens. So I started by trying to come up with a skeleton, like a base structure. So I tried a couple of different cardboard versions. I was trying to figure out, the thing that was kind of eating my brain was trying to figure out how to deal with her teeth, because she's got the long pointy teeth, and I've made a lot of puppets, but they all had Muppet mouths where they're basically like a V. They work really well with your hand, even if you've got a small hand, which my hands are relatively small. You can operate those puppets because your thumb doesn't have to go that far in, but this one needed a jaw. So I tried doing an actual jaw, like a hinged jaw with the cardboard, but it limited the motion. I could only open her mouth by 90 degrees. So I opted for the live hinge flexible cardboard version. And once I decided on the base, I started covering it in aluminum foil and then covering it in Super Sculpey for sculpting her because we have a bunch. So I didn't have to buy it. And it's really easy to work with. I tried a lot of things for the eyes. I tried ping pong balls and I tried the insides of ping pong balls to try to get the eyes to track, and giant cabochons multiple ways, and ended up using giant cabochons. They're 1.5 inch cabochons with her eye painted on the rounded side of one, and I stacked two. I wanted her eyes to look kind of lively and sort of follow a little bit. I didn't want them to be completely the dead puppet eyes, but using the doubled up cabochons kind of made it so that they got a little cloudy. I think it was the better of the two options. And then I made the teeth. You make the teeth separately and then bake the teeth, and then you can shove them into the mouth and they don't deform and get weird and squished. So now I am attaching the spikes and building the skin around the spikes for the dragon's head. She kind of looks like a horse skull or something until she actually has her eyes in there. And those little skewers sticking out of her head are for her ears. These are her ears. We got some foam clay, and this was the first time ever using foam clay. It was on this super mega sale, so we got some foam clay, and it was interesting to work with. It came out of the bag kind of like weirdly slimy and greasy feeling, and then it was pretty easy to work with, but it wouldn't hold details very well, and you can see it's stringing a little bit and stretching instead of cutting when I was trying to cut the shapes of the ears. But it's air dry. This is air dry foam clay. So we left it sit for a while and it dried. And then I used an oatmeal container for the sleeve of the hand puppet, and then a sock. This is the cut open end of the sock for over the
oatmeal container.
So the oatmeal container kind of gave it some thickness, and then the sock covered it basically, and then I used felt to do all of the scales on the sock, and this worked way better than I anticipated, because this was sort of I have to get it done, and this is something that we have solution, but it ended up working so well. So you can see I have put the cabochons in and sculpted some eyes around it. You can bake cabochons. So I baked her head and then attached the cabochons and did some final details and then did a second bake. It's nice that you can do multiple bakes with polymer clay. Comes in handy a lot. I just hot glued these weird shapes of felt onto her body, and I had a couple of larger fins of felt that ended up being these fins on her back, and I basically squirted hot glue all over them on both sides and sandwiched them in between parchment paper and cut out those shapes, and that was how I made those finny things on her back. The scales, that's what they are. The scales on her back. So this is painting her. I sprayed her body with Plastidip to make it easier to paint the felt, because felt's not going to take the paint real well. So that sort of sealed up the felt and made it easier. And then I based her with kind of the dark purpley, and then I brought in some pink and orange highlights everywhere. Another thing that's nice about the cabochons, since they're glass, you can paint right on them. I mean, I didn't on purpose, but I didn't try to avoid them. I didn't have to cut in around them with the paint because it scratches off. This is acrylic and it just scratches right off of those. Yeah, for this polymer clay, you don't want to use anything other than acrylic or water-based paints because oil-based paints turn sticky and weird. And she's got these face spikes on her. Classic face spikes, which made it so that now she has to sit on top of something. I've got that little Tupperware underneath her. She can't ever sit just flat because she rests on those. And this was the first time I ever bought fake eyelashes. And of course, they're for the dragon. They made such a difference. She looked so freaky until those went on. The second the eyelashes went on, she looked 1,000 times better. And our eyes, you have to light her eyes to make them look better than this. Oh, there's the stretchy, weird foam clay. Do you see it go stringy, stretchy? So that was attaching her ears, totally out of shot. This is Samantha. So Sam and Ty are gonna go dragon hunting in a minute. And Grandpa Pokey made something like 100 swords for local kids, and he gave the girls a couple of them. And so Sam decided to decorate hers, and you did this all by yourself. I was completely ignoring you because I was working on editing, and you were just going to town, and you made a squirrel sword. Why squirrel?
Because squirrels sometimes live in holes in the trees.
Yeah.
I didn't add a nest like I searched up on Google.
Yeah.
I found out they live in nests, and I was like, what?
So out of curiosity, though, why did you decide to do a squirrel, of all things?
Because I was thinking squirrels live in trees, right? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I searched it up, and apparently they do. I was thinking.
So you were thinking because the hilt was going to be wood? So the squirrel would be in the tree. So you used Posca pens to paint it, and you used polymer clay to sculpt it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So let's see your sword in action.
I'm sure we've got time to search in another cat. So.
We've got plenty of time.
Oh, girls. Didn't your mother tell you to brush your teeth an hour ago? Get out of here!